Mr. Walker, Dean, welcome on your December to Remember.
Thank you, Margaret. It is every time we get together in these very few moments of getting to know you in anticipation of this interview, it's just been delightful. So I'm really looking forward to being a part of this December to Remember project that you're doing.
Thank you very much, and I am on my turn, I'm honored to have you on this show because you have a magnificent body of work, experience, and corporate and personal development coursework that you've brought out and that you've supported people with for many, many, many years. And there's something that strikes me so much is that you say that somehow in modern culture, we have completely disconnected from our primary sources of meaning as human beings. And something in me gets rebellious, like, no, that's not true. But at the other hand, yes, we are connected. So I would love to ask some questions about this.
Great. I think you're really brave to have me on. This is not a popular topic. This is it's perhaps the most challenging conversation in the history of humanity. And we unfortunately, and perhaps fortunately, we get to be alive at this time. And it is an extraordinarily difficult conversation to have that most people really have very little capacity for. So I really appreciate you taking the risk to have me here, and hopefully we can let people know that there's another side to this conversation. There's not just the despair or doom or the negative side of the conversation. There's also really a gorgeous and deeply inspiring and deeply related side of the conversation. And I think even though we only have about 30 minutes, I predict we're going to get there. So let's go.
Thank you very much. Well, because now that you position it as such, maybe a question I can ask you immediately. Okay, we are in this festive season. It's the last month of the year. People kind of have an image in mind, like how they would love to celebrate. But there's an important question that they need to ask for being able to live what they want to live. Is there a question you have in mind that you could say, this is what somebody can do immediately now to ask themselves?
Yeah. You know, my work is for a kind of a self-selecting population, a very small, unfortunately, very small population in the planet. People who know in their heart of hearts, they know that there's some things that are wrong with what's going on around the world, within the environment, economics, authoritarian governments, and on the list goes. And so once a person steps over that line and realizes, wow, there are really serious problems and situations here, and I don't know how to handle them. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to take care of my kids. I don't know what to look forward to in my own career track. And I mean, there's so much uncertainty. And so for me, as a person in that same boat, I'm floating in that same water with everyone else. Mm-hmm. The kind of question I ask myself when I look at the people I love and I want to spend special time with them at the end of a year and celebrate what truly is left of being really meaningful in our lives, I start to ask myself a question of how can I be more and more present to be of service to the people I love? Because that's really what I want to be. There's some other things I want in life and so on, but when I really ask myself the core question, how can I continue to be more and more present as the world is more and more challenging, as the world throws bigger and bigger stressors at me? How can I be more and more present to my children, or present to my spouse, or present to my community, or my loved ones, my family and extended family? And that's getting just a little ahead of ourselves in this conversation, because that's what my work is about. But as I approach my own holidays, as you're saying, and these are, it's lovely here on the West Coast of the USA where I'm speaking from. It's gorgeous right now. And I love this heading into this time of season. I'm not a Christmas person, but I am very much a person that loves to bring people together and to be together in an intimate and close and important way. So that's the first question I would ask. And I would invite others to ask themselves is, how can I expand my ability to be present and to be of service to the people I love?
And because I do think indeed that's what everybody wants or longs for, right? To have this connection with others. But somehow it looks like as if everybody is kind of trained or triggered into continuous vibrating, doing stuff, organizing stuff, oh, the kitchen, oh, the shopping, oh, this, oh, my job. And how do we catch time and space to do this?
Yeah, these are really great questions, and different people have come into the conversation in different places. For some people here in the States, we've had a number of fires and hurricanes and floods and so on. And of course, that's going on around the world. And oftentimes the first level that people come in is, I call it the first aid level of resilience skills that we have to call on. Where, you know, for instance, if a hurricane has come through a city, then my neighborhood is devastated. And my family and I are sleeping on a high school gym floor with 50 other families, and our lives are blasted apart. Yeah. And so these are different skills here. These are skills in the moment that help me return to presence in my body, because we want to get out of our body. We just can't be present. It's hard. So we learn these basic skills, and those are the most important thing that a person could know. That's an important part of the work that I offer at that basic level. Yeah. The next level up is, okay, your city hasn't been hit by a hurricane. You have your job. Much of your life looks just the way it does, but you know that there are serious large-scale problems that affect you, your family, your community, and so on. But you have some space to be able to learn some more robust skills. Yeah. Some of us have had a long-standing meditation practice. That's like the really strong version of those first aid skills that I was just talking about. Somebody meditates for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. There's some self-knowledge. There's an incredible skill at being able to return to center that those of us who don't have that kind of practice rarely have. So these are skills and abilities and capacities that we can build in order to be more effective when something large comes. Because I think we're all pretty clear by now, if something big hasn't come to your city or your state or your country, it will soon. So I'm sorry, I think I went a little off your question, but I hope that was useful.
Well, yeah, and we're here to have a serious talk, because we love to add meaning. And we all know and suppress also maybe fears for what is to come. And we don't want it to be, okay, we may welcome surprises, but unpleasant surprises is not what we want to be here for. But I hear you say, okay, there are ways that can benefit you today by expanding your presence. And at the same time, you build your resilience.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the most difficult parts of this work, I've chosen a really terrible thing to make as this chapter of my life work, but there's nothing more rewarding.
Yeah.
It's difficult to offer to people who are new to these challenges. They're new to these really hard to grapple with topics. It's hard to convey how much beauty and how much relationship and how much meaning is available by starting to take on those practices, pull on those threads of being able to, I don't mean to use weird terms, but to self-regulate, to co-regulate, which means, can I bring myself back to a sense of center when life knocks me off center? In co-regulating, can I gather with my family? I don't know about your family, but we didn't learn co-regulation skills in my family. We were crazy and arguing and, just being a weird family. It's been so wonderful to learn these important but not difficult skills to bring ourselves back to center, not just me individually, but for me and my loved ones in circle and in just a few moments. These are some of the basic skills that we offer in this living resilience body of work.
Because what I noticed over the last year, of course, there are more and more people meditating, and it's almost sometimes like I say it in not such a nice way, like a Novocaine spirituality, because, that's
Right,
the Walhalla, the meditating helps, but there is much more to it than just the doing of the meditation. And the people who do work the 2-3 jobs, the people who do think that meditation is a luxury thing for the people who have the money and the jobs and the time to do this. How can we bring them in so that they also see like, hey, I can observe my life for a moment and take a different approach?
Yeah. I love what you're saying, and it's a deep conversation. There's a lot of people might call that spiritual bypass. Like if I learn to meditate, I can then, every time I feel something uncomfortable, I can go meditate for a while and I can shove aside those feelings. And I'm going to just say some bold truths here. True for me in my practice. It may or may not be true for others. My experience is we're asking, when we want to expand our capacity to be present, to be of service to the people we love, we're asking for kind of the good news and the bad news of life. We're asking for more of both, because more of both is true right now around the world. And what I mean by that is I'm expanding my ability to be present to the beauty, to the meaning, to the relationship that I always wanted with my children or my spouse or my extended family. Of course, I've always wanted that. And behind it all, I've always known that it's just a miracle that I got out of bed today and I get another day to be present. Excuse me. It's very moving for me. It's just like, this is a miracle that you and I are talking right now.
Yeah.
The beauty that's available in each moment when we expand our capacity to be present to it, it can be actually take our breath away.
Yeah.
And so with that, if we're going to be committed to expanding ourselves in that way, we must be able to tell the truth about what's on the more challenging side. We are definitely damaging the environment of this planet in a number of ways that within my old guy lifetime is going to affect billions of people. It's no kidding. This is really happening. It's not just Greta Thunberg being manic. No, she's telling the truth. This is the real deal. Here's the beauty for me in this process, though. If I commit myself to that expansion, it takes work to do that.
Yeah.
But if I commit myself to doing that, there is a beauty in the process. You and I can sit in circle with a few other people, and we can be of service to one another, because your practices will be different than mine.
Yeah.
But we can be of service to one another, and we can have more and more of that beauty in the process of getting there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think what people, because people know kind of things are coming, and I'm a creativity coach. I mean, I always say the future needs creative people, but what's interesting about what you were saying, yes, maybe the things we see as problems that need to be solved, yes, please, if there are any, but you give it a different name, which is eye-opening, because it makes it more boom in our face. How do you call this? I think you call it predicaments. Right.
It's a predicament. Yeah.
Those are more like facts. You're not talking about some faraway problems that one day the future generations need to solve. There's something going on right now.
Yeah. You know, it's not my job. I am not smart enough to be able to determine where or how another person should believe or what they see out into the future. But what I can tell you, after having written a book called The Impossible Conversation about this topic, what I've seen is, again, in my old guy lifetime, I will see billions of people suffering and perhaps worse. That's my seeing. That's some of my conclusion. That may or may not be your conclusion. But I think it's very important to have a number of different terms and be very selective with the terms we use. Like here in the States, we have this idea, well, if we could have this Green New Deal, we could then fix this climate problem, and then we can get back to a roaring economy and everything will be back to normal. Yeah. That's, problem solution that we've been used to doing for generations now. Yeah. That's not the level of predicament. That's a problem and a solution, and we're arguing about that and so on. Predicament is a problem at a scale that offers no obvious solution. Oh, wow. There are no obvious solutions in a predicament. So what we then are left with, here's a book that I'd like to recommend for anybody who would like to get a heartful view of what's coming. There's a journalist named Dar Jamail, and he put out a book called The End of Ice. And it's the most exquisite layout of what's actually going on with human impact on the environment around the world. It's extraordinary. But it's not just more scientific facts and la doom scrolling. He goes around the world and talks to the locals there, and he talks to the scientists who have seen it, and he brings us this vivid picture. And at the end of it, he asks, so now we can see we're in a predicament. We can see the depth of it, and this is quite serious. The question that he generates, that he offers us to take on as well, is how shall we comport ourselves? How shall we relate with each other? How will I carry myself into the day? How will I presence myself with my family, with my loved ones, with my community in the face of a predicament? It's one of the most brave, courageous questions that I think a person can ask. And really, when you look at it, that's always been the most brave question a person could ask. But we've been so distracted by life and all these other things that would take our attention away. What we always have is the quality of our presence now. And could we, because that's of course beautiful, because it's like a circle coming back, and then say, okay, if we bring back at the heart our relationship to self, to others, and the earth, we become booming hearts, right, of love, that automatically will
we will do our best to protect this beautiful blue planet, because it is still beautiful, no matter what doom stories and facts and data we hear. There's so much beauty, right? To protect
so
and
much
even
beauty.
fight for it. Yeah. So, I mean, there are philosophers, I think it's Voltaire, who said, you just have to cultivate your own garden, like mentally, emotionally, physically.
Yes.
So what can we do to, in our own little worlds, and at the same time, protect this beautiful planet?
Yeah. It's a gorgeous question. And again, it really just speaks to those different levels that I was talking about, where people come in with different capacities and different levels of awareness. And so it'll be different for that person trying to take care of their family after the hurricane that we were talking about. Different for a person who has still a lot of their life in place. They go to work each day, they pick up the kids at school. That's a very different life to have to figure out. Each of us will, one of the first tasks we have for the people who really join me in the one of the support groups and so on that we do in Living Resilience is, first we discover, how would we articulate what matters most to me?
Okay.
Then, as I'm looking at the condition of my life, what circumstances are present, what are the practices of reconnection that I can do that will expand my capacity to be present and of service to the people I love? It's you're kind of getting the idea. I'm repeating that thing quite a bit, but that's really as simple as it is. And then if ideally we come together with other people and hold space for one another to do some of the more difficult work that there is to do. I wish I could say, oh, this is super easy. All you have to do is these 3 steps or something. This takes work. And if we're willing to do that work together, yours will be different than mine. And we can still support one another in the same circle. So I don't mean to be vague, but it's remarkable how simple and universal some practices are, and how very, very specific and deep some of them are. And it'd be different for each person.
And so let's end this conversation that could go on for hours, I'm sure. But so let's say we are in a circle. Family, extended family, talking the blah blah and this and the chit chat. And so somebody listening to us talking right now thinking, okay, I want to enter this field of deeper connection, of asking a better question without offending somebody else, but by genuine interest. We need to ask better questions to each other, listening better. What is it where we can direct ourselves into to connect, to reconnect?
Yeah. I think it ends up being quite simple. I'm sorry, I'm just moved again a bit, that you and I, in less than a half an hour, you and I have connected at a far deeper level than our brief conversations before. I'm feeling my heart quite open. It feels like there's a lot of mutual understanding, and there's a lot of mutual curiosity. And if people start to cultivate those qualities, just being brave enough to ask some of these more challenging questions. And in fact, that's the free offering that I'm offering as a part of your December to Remember, is a series of these questions that I often ask myself, that all the people in our deeper support groups ask themselves. And it's a part of an even larger set of questions, but just take a few at a time and start to ask those questions. And what I've seen more often than not is that people, it doesn't take much to crack open that heart, even if it's been a while.
Yes, I think you're
And
right.
asking those questions and knowing that you're being motivated by what matters most to you.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a more simple but more important first step to take in this process.
Thank you. I hope everybody listening hears and listens and hears and listens and will ask those questions, because everybody longs for care, curiosity, community, connection. So you bring magnificent work. You continue to do so. Lucky for all of us. And we will have a beautiful page. People can find you there. But what's your? Where can we find you on a website, or if people want to look you up straight away?
Sure. My website is livingresilience.net. And there the people can, if they want to, find our community space online, which is a Mighty Networks platform called, again, Living Resilience. And so all the information they could possibly want and links to connect and so on. And of course, in the free offering that I've given to y'all, all the contact information is there. Hope you will not be shy to write me an email with express any questions that you have, or difficulties that you might be encountering on this path on your own. This is a really important time to find our people, to find the people that can hold space for you and that you can hold space for on this extraordinarily challenging time. And Margaret, I'd just like to mention my thanks to you. You know, this is, again, I think it takes courage to include this kind of more difficult, challenging kind of conversation. And I've encountered nothing but curiosity and warmth from you at every step. So thank you very much for having me here with you.
Well, you're more than welcome. And I'm as honored as I can be. Your voice is important. And I hope, we'll stay in touch for sure. Yeah.
We will.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.